sure and include your pet tributes in the additional comments box. It's Pet Pledge Day coming up this Wednesday.
Good morning out there.
Coming up in just a moment, the best of Card Talk.
Oops.
On the next radio
off.
lab,
Good morning out there. Oops.
On the next radio lab,
Okay, where is that coming from? Okay, where is that coming from? Bear with me if you're out there. I got to figure out where that is. Okay. I have no idea what that is, guys. If you're out there listening, if you have a clue what's making that noise, I would love to know. I've muted it. Well, I've muted it to me. That's not going to help any. Okay. Well, Sam Hell. I know, Teddy. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to get it. I can't figure out what it is, buddy. Okay. Guys, anybody got a clue? What have I done? Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Let me, Teddy. Bear with me just a moment, guys. Teddy, where are my headphones? Guys, due to technical difficulties, let me back out and be right back. Okay, is it still good? I'm not sure what was going on there, unless that was coming through my... I know these headphones have a microphone. Maybe that was Teddy's heartbeat. He was laying on them. Okay. Dawn, is it okay now? I know I'm on delay with you, but maybe if you can let me know in a second. I don't have a clue what that was. Good morning, Francisco. I can't do a really good... Oh my God, I can't remember his name. Okay, I'm officially embarrassed now because I can't remember Kenzie Day's dad's name. Tracy. I can't do a good Tracy this morning. But good morning, Francisco. Good morning, Hitchhiking Bones, Dawn. And Miss Brenda Pruitt is in the room, or she was. Brenda, if you can hear me, let me know. I'm not 100% sure I'm getting out. I will. Okay, I seem to be. So how is everybody this morning? I hope that wherever you are, it's a little sunnier than it is here. It's kind of cloudy in East Tennessee this morning. I don't know if anybody's still here. Did I run everybody off with the racket? Okay, all good now. Excellent. Francisco, how are things on the West Coast this morning? And Dawn, did you guys get any of that rain from the last hurricane? Was it Nicholas? Nicholas something. We got some clouds and some rain out of it, but fortunately this time we didn't get much. And on that topic, we see stuff every day in the news when something like that's going on, and we see all the devastation it's causing here, and it's just unbelievable. I don't know if I can imagine living in Louisiana or the Gulf Coast. I mean, Florida gets hammered too, but it's different, I think, because of the way the floodwaters recede down there. Man, when you're in South Louisiana and the Mississippi Delta, and that water just don't seem to go away, and it catches up with you quick. Yeah, we actually need a little bit too, but I just don't want too much. Good morning, Ashley Loves Disney. How are you this morning? Very nice to see you. Kay. Hi, Kay. I hope you're doing okay this morning. We've been thinking about you. That's okay. You can listen. Listening is free. I don't charge a thing for that. Unlike Garrett at Monarch Butterflies, I don't charge anything for people being here or being moderators. Ha! It is game day. I don't know when we play or Tennessee plays today. I hope it's on TV. I don't know if they could be off. They got Florida coming up soon. I don't think that's this weekend though. Thank you, Don. You know what? I about forgot to even make a thumbnail. I did it last night and put it out, and I put it in a few places on Instagram, but I really don't know everything I need to know about sharing out the stream and getting it on YouTube. Probably because I don't have enough subscribers. I see people stuff pop up 2 or 3 days in advance, and I get notifications. Maybe you guys can tell me if you get notifications for mine. Tennessee has the Hurricanes at 12. I didn't realize they were playing Miami today. I think it's a home game though. Actually, I can't remember. Remind me, is that do you root for the Vols, as they say? It reminds me of a line from a movie. Anybody remember the movie? I believe it was called WW and the Dixie Dance Kings. Had Burt Reynolds in it. And he pulled up to get gas somewhere in Tennessee. They were country music singers or swing, or Western swing. And he asked the guy at the gas station. He said he was just trying to make conversation because the guy wasn't talking to him. He said, "So I guess you root for the Vols." In case you don't know, the Vols are what people call the Tennessee Volunteers, if you're local. And the gas station attendant just deadpanned and didn't, just kept pumping the gas and said root. Hogs root. I don't root. Anyway, it's been a long time ago. Probably had to have been there for it to be funny. Hogs root. Good morning, Dean, the turkey legster. You have any words of wisdom for us today? I have to tell you, I have cackled at some of your postings on Instagram. I don't know what to call. I don't know if they're memes or if they're just, I don't know what you call them. And don't know where to get them, and don't care. Maybe you make them up yourself, but we love that one about the minion eating popcorn. I think that's an excellent idea. I think I might try that, or have Brenda stuff me full of popcorn when I die. Something. Hey, is George with you, or at least close by? In case anybody doesn't know, George is a local free-range rooster that Dean talks to and photographs from time to time. Dean, I just want to let you know that how generous I feel like you are or were the other night when you loaned Will your turkey leg hat, your turkey hat. Actually, it's more than just a leg. It was amazing when he wore it. He looked just like you. I thought that was impressive on their show the other night. That's probably not near as funny as I thought it was. I just, I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, we were sure that you had that, you had the only turkey hat in the country. Oh, do you? Well, I haven't seen that yet, Dean. I'm sorry. But I'm always behind in something. Mostly everything. I like that chicken. I mean, if you get that rooster to come on the air with you, you might really be on to something. You reckon you could teach him how to play the piano? Or just crow on command? That would be pretty cool, Dean. Now, when you say he was by this morning, does he come to your yard? Crack corn and that sort of thing. Probably bring him by more regularly if you're into that sort of thing. You could probably lay out a Hansel and Gretel kind of bread trail and bring him right to your house. I still think you need to find out where his girlfriends are and see if you can't get a few free range eggs that way. I think those would be mighty fine. And my daughter has some chickens, but she has a chicken coop and all that kind of stuff. And pardon my coffee pouring there if you can hear it. I'm curious, Dean. Do you ever hear anything about? I mean, there's a thing about Florida and chickens. I always think back to Key West, and I don't know if Hemingway had anything to do with it, but I know around Hemingway's house and Key West and that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to figure out a place to set my empty cup. That empty cup. I have more. So I think about chickens. Is that just something? I mean, people used to let their chickens run free around here too, but you don't see that much anymore. But I don't know, down your way, it seems like every once in a while somebody pops up and says, they got chickens that, wander around town. Well, see, he can learn, Dean. That means he can be taught. So you never know what he might be able to pick up on. You need to get a little piano and put it out there. And when he comes in, put some corn on the keys. And pretty soon, you might have him playing Beethoven. Or at least Jerry Lee Lewis. Chickens like cat food. Man, that's interesting. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, does that make them cannibals? Because a lot of cat food has chicken in it. Think about that. Don't tell them. If you don't let them read the bag, they'll never know, Kay, and it'll be all right. Yeah, most of my I guess both of my sets of grandparents had, well, yeah, my grandfather was alive when I was little, but they had chickens, and of course, they lived in the country and just a little farm, so people had chickens. It wasn't a big deal back then, and they were free ranging. I don't remember my grandmother, at least my maternal grandma, I don't remember her having a coop. They had boxes around the barn that the chickens could get in. The hens could get in and lay eggs from time, and they would until they got tired of you going and stealing them. And then they'd find a place in the barn to hide and lay eggs, and then you wouldn't find them. So every once in a while, you'd have new chicks running around the barnyard. But they'd send us kids out to gather the eggs from time to time. We had to find them. And like I said, you could get a lot of them out of the boxes. They just nail like a square brood box on the side of the barn, a couple of feet off the ground, and they would go in there. Interesting thing back then. That was a time period when a lot of game, I would say a lot of predators were in decline or had been in decline. And while I'm sure there were raccoons and foxes in that area, I don't remember that ever being a real problem. Of course, we didn't have coyotes back then. Dean, you need to do something like the Orlando guy did it, and do a little documentary on chickens in your town. I can't remember how to pronounce your town. Um, I think you could do an excellent job. That'd be interesting. I'd like to know if there's where that comes from. Cause like I say, they're famous for running around Key West. I've seen people go down there and shooting other kinds of videos, TV stuff, and they always show the chickens running around town, or at least in some parts of town. And Florida's full of predators, so I wonder how they cope and adapt. They must manage, because strictly from a farm animal perspective, I'm not sure chickens would be the most defensible animals. I mean, you guys down there have got Oviedo. Is that correct? Oviedo or Oviedo? No, doe. Oviedo. Now, is it like Tennessee where they leave part of it out, though, when you guys say it and it's like Oviedo? Yeah, Hemingway's fine. He had six toad cats, Don. That was the thing about him. That's the thing about his property or his house. I'm assuming maybe they roam all over the islands down there now, that island anyway. But yeah, the Hemingway had the cats, but the town in general has the chickens. I don't think the chickens had anything to do with him in particular. They were just there. But the cats were, people now call six-toed cats Hemingways, and there's a little secret to that. You guys probably know what it is. It's a lot more emphasis on the V. Oviedo. So here we have a town right down the road called Maryville, Maryville, but here it's pronounced Merville. If you say you ask somebody if they're from Maryville, they'll look at you like you got three heads. You got to say Merville. Same thing with a town west of here called Shelbyville. That's sort of famous for being like the center of Tennessee walking horse. They have the championships and all the big shows there for Tennessee walking horses all over the country. And it's Shelbyville, but they pronounce it Shelbyville. It's a Tennessee thing, I guess. Okay, it's Oviedo. I got it. Man, I don't have me talking like a native Floridian before it's over with, or at least a long-term resident like Dean. I think Dean told me one time he's been down there since he was 3 or 5 or something like that. My wife kind of talks like a Tennessean, and she's from California, although she does say some words funny still. Around here people call a big pig a hog. She calls it a hog. Kind of HAWG, I guess. English is hard. English is real hard, especially if you're supposed to be a native speaker, speller, and writer. I don't know how people, I don't know how people learn it as a second language, but I think there's probably a lot worse. I had a friend, we had a technician that used to come to our shop in Nashville from Japan he was in 1987. Oh, you're the same age as my youngest daughter then. She was born in 87. When's your birthday, Dean? What month? Anyway, he was he sat down one night and showed us how to write Japanese on a napkin in a restaurant, and because that's what we did. We took these guys out to eat a lot and ply them with alcohol and get secrets out of them, I guess. But he was fun. He was a good guy, but he was explaining how in Japanese the words can have so many different meanings. And I thought, wow, English is bad enough. I can't imagine trying to learn to speak and spell and write in the Japanese language, because they've got they tell me 5 or 6 different alphabets that they can use or do use. And he would sit down and tell us. I've got a napkin somewhere here that saved from one of his visits where he had all that written. He had the alphabet written down in like 4 versions or something. Oh, you were 3 in 87. I'm sorry. That means you're between my two daughters. I had one born in 82 and the other born in 87. I'm sorry. I'm from Tennessee. My math ain't always so good, you know. Math is hard. April of 84. Hey, Dave. Good morning, Adventures by D. How are you this not really bright and sunny morning? Are you in Georgia today, or are you guys out gallivanting around somewhere? Gee, Dean, I was 3 in 1960. This makes you 27 years I guess that makes kind of, I can't even count. It makes you 26 years my junior. Is that right? You're in Georgia. Well, Georgia's not all bad. It's just, Georgia. A lot of red clay. Let's see, you guys are in, no, I'm kidding about that. Georgia has some amazing mountain areas and back roads. I've ridden in North Georgia several times. Okay, Dean, I have a question for you. You're a learned man. If I told you that the answer to life was 43, would that mean anything to you? Because I'm thinking the answer to your life is turkey legs. But I'm just wondering. I bet I'm not the only one that knows where that reference comes from, but you never know. We rode around a little bit yesterday, Dave. I got traveled about a couple 100 miles yesterday in the car, which is, this ain't a pity party, but that's about as far as I've been in a year. 43 turkey legs. That'd probably be a good number. Now, the 43 reference is, well, I hope it's not 42. I think it's 43. In the original book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they tell a story about how the galaxies had created this huge, giant computer to calculate all things. And they had asked it the question, what was the meaning of life? And the answer was 40. No, he came up with this answer. He said 42 or 43, whichever one it is. And they said, what is that? And he said, the meaning of life. That's what it was. They asked him, what is the meaning of life, universe, and everything? And he said 43. That was his calculated computed answer. But they never could figure out what that meant exactly. I'm probably telling that wrong. But anyway, that's where that comes from. No reference to the movies. I didn't see the last movie. Most Hitchhiker's Guide fans that I know of didn't think it was all that great. So the book, the original book by Douglas Adams, I think his first name was Douglas. I don't get him mixed up with the guy that wrote Traveler, but it was hilarious. That was one of the funniest things. I think it is 42. Okay, from Douglas Adams. You're exactly right. I think it is 42. I don't know where I got 43 this morning. I'm off a number. That's figures. I'm being contrary this morning, as you can see. Well, but you don't see the movie, Dean. Read the book, or maybe if you could ever find it, if you want to listen to it, there's a version out there done by a group that was known as, I don't know if they're still around, but they were known as the Fireside Theater. And they did it on the radio as a radio show in like 10 or 12 parts. Funny. Well, at least I thought it was hilarious. I've got a couple of buddies of mine that have listened to it so many times they can quote the thing. So they're always skeptical if they say there's a new movie coming out about Hitchhiker's Guide, because the story as told from the book was pretty funny. I'm going to tell you this, Dean. Please don't be hurt by this, but I don't think they talked about turkey legs much. I know there was one scene there where there was an intergalactic highway project coming through that was going to basically destroy the Earth because it was in the path of the intergalactic highway, skyway, whatever they called it, and they had to blast it, out of the way. So to avoid that, they had to get in this thing they had for time travel or space travel, and the guy who was with Ford Prefect. Okay, help me out here. You may know that. Anyway, he told him to have a beer or an ale and some peanuts. And he said, why? He said, well, you need that. You always need peanuts for, kind of cushion the transition from here to wherever he was going to take him to in space. So could use substitute turkey legs for that. But I don't know if you'd want to eat 42. That might not stay down. Apparently, it was kind of rough on your stomach. See, they always had a couple things. You always want to keep a bag of peanuts handy and always know where your towel was. Keeping up with your towel for whatever purpose your towel was for was important to space travel in that book. Okay, you might know this answer to this too. There was or you might know that he also wrote a book about endangered animals. He traveled around and visited like the Galapagos and New Zealand and some places like that, and wrote a really fascinating book about animals that were on the verge of extinction. A true, honest, straightforward, fact-filled kind of book, not a comedy type book, fiction. And at one time, I know I had that book. I don't know if I still do or not. I'll have to check the shelf out later. Had an interesting day yesterday. Most of you have seen the post. Brenda and I said I've been out. Brenda and I traveled to Johnson City, which is actually our childhood stomping grounds formative years for both of us, I guess you could say. I moved around some. She did too, maybe more than I did. But we both went to most of our schooling up there in high school near there. We went to Jonesboro area schools, and we both lived outside the city. But that was I used to tell people I was from Johnson City because it was the biggest place nearby. Jonesboro back then it's still a small town, but it's gotten a little bit more famous over the years. There's, breweries there now, and the International Storytelling Center is there. I don't know what else they call it. Some things like that. So it's gotten a little bit more famous. It's the oldest city in Tennessee. Was the original seat of government for I'm not sure what the proper word is, the state of Franklin, the proposed state of Franklin. Okay, that might be right. Last Chance to See sounds right. It's a good book if you're ever interested in reading. Some of those species that are in that book have now made somewhat of a comeback. Not sure they all have. He wrote about a large flightless parrot that lived in New Zealand. The parrot had evolved to the point where it was almost like a penguin in a way. It didn't have usable wings, and it burrowed into the ground to nest. And when they introduced species like cats and Norway rats and things like that showed up in New Zealand, they were easy prey. Of course, they didn't have any defenses against those kind of predators because they didn't have predators there before. And so they almost devastated the population. I think they've made a little bit of a comeback now. Thank you, Kay. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Good coffee. Anyway, so we got out and traveled. I'll get through this in a minute. But we got to meet Cherie and James, Surfer Girl, yesterday. They were visiting her sister over in the edge of North Carolina, near Asheville, and which is just over the mountain from us. So we kind of agreed to meet in Johnson City because that was sort of middle. It was a little bit closer for them than us, but it was a straight shot from where they were to up to there. And Dean, stop that! I know you're yawning. You're the one that caused that. So we got to meet them yesterday for a little while. Sat down and have a little bit of bite of lunch and just get to know them a little bit and had a great time. I thought she'd be in here this morning. I think they were going to a soccer game or something. I can't remember, I don't remember, some kind of game with a niece or nephew, I believe, over near Asheville. So I don't know if you're familiar with Western North Carolina, but there's just like every place, there's little towns and burgs and white spots in the road. I think they were from near Hendersonville, Fletcher area, maybe even, which is more of a community between what I just said in Asheville, Hendersonville and Asheville, over in that area. But that's a pretty part of the country. Asheville is kind of a unique city. It sort of nested in some mountains over there. It's kind of neat. It is good to get out once in a while, Dean. I don't know why, but I meant to actually do a short video of us just sitting around talking, and of course I chickened out and didn't do it. I won't say I forgot, because I didn't forget, but I think I just wasn't sure enough of myself to do it. I need to get over that and take a chance once in a while. But it was fun. Found out and you learned a little bit about James, and he and I may have crossed paths at one time. He was doing some work for a broadcasting company with NASCAR about the time I was working in NASCAR. I might have been getting out about the time he was getting involved, but you never know. I could have been around there somewhere. But they were headed back over. They'd been to visit a local apple orchard over there yesterday morning, and they were headed back home and to her sister's and getting into whatever else. Brenda and I, she threw me a bone, if you will, and let me stop at a motorcycle shop on the way home. And I got to look at what may end up being my next alternative. I officially probably can't say it's ADA approved, because I'm sure it isn't approved, but it may turn out to be Tim's Americans with Disability Act motorcycle, so to speak, with better access. It's a 3-wheel motorcycle. I may have to give up my 2 and go to 3 if I'm not going to be fully functional from the waist down, or at least one leg. My dumb leg still doesn't. It doesn't like to. I'm worried I can't hold the bike up if I stop, and I'm sure I could ride it. I just don't know if I can stop, put my foot down. We will see. But she's saying that she might like to go with me some places now that we are able to do that. I mean, retired wise, we have the time if we can just be able. And while we would both also like to travel around if we had a motorhome or something, I'd like to do some of it on a motorcycle, just to be out in it, amongst it. I miss riding so much. I don't know, most of you may know this already, but I was riding motorcycles since I was 14, so it's been a hard thing to give up. Oh, really? Well, that's interesting, Kay. Were you near your house, or? I'm looking at. We're kind of looking at Canadian built motorcycle. It's a three-wheel bike. It's got 2 front wheels and 1 back. And I have a picture of it, I think. In fact, I may have a picture of the very one that I looked at yesterday. Let me see here. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I have a habit of whistling when I'm doing stuff. Well, he said he had a picture. But where would it be? Well, where did they go? Oop, there's one of them. I'll get it open and then I'll see if I can. Let me see if I can project it here. I have to remember how to do this, guys. I haven't done this in a little while. Let's see if this worked. There it is. Well, it's not a very good picture of it, though. I don't know if I can make it much bigger. But that's what, in fact, that may be one of the very ones I looked at yesterday because, oh, shoot. I don't know if that'll be better. This technology is still probably way above my head. Anyway, that's what it looks like, or they look like. And I said I thought I had some more pictures of it, but I can't seem to find them. The shop we were in is actually where I didn't take this picture. This is on their website. I wanted to take some, but forgot. I was too busy walking around and looking, and so that's the only one I think I got. But I looked them up, and this is the one I was looking at. So I know it's the. Oh, there they are. There they are. Where'd they go? There's one. There's two. I thought I might have one better picture. There's the last one. You ever have a day where you're looking right at something and you can't see it? Welcome to my world. Well, let me see if I can do this. No. I'm going to have to do it this way again. I got one more picture of it I'm going to show just because I can. And it's fun to share. And sharing is caring, right? So I'm caring for you guys by sharing you these photographs. That picture makes Okay, I'm back. I think I unplugged my mic there accidentally. I was moving it around to bring that picture up. Sorry about that, guys. Sharing is caring, Dean, and I'll admit, probably not with germs. I mean, you truly, germy lips are one way to say I love you. Thank you, Dean. I got it, though. I finally realized I wasn't making any sounds. Anyway, Brenda seems to think she might like to hop on and do a little traveling. So this thing's pretty nice. It's it won't tip over. Well, I mean, I'm not saying you can't wreck it, but it won't tip over when you stop. So I don't have to worry about holding it up with my bad leg. I don't have to worry about shifting gears with my bad leg because it doesn't do that. It's got a lot of neat. This one's got a lot of neat. I mean, it's like a car in some ways. It's got anti-skid and stabilization and that sort of stability controls, just like a lot of new cars. Plus, it's got a Bluetooth integrated system in the dash where you can hook up to your phone for navigation and weather and music and all that. And this one's actually got a 6-speaker stereo system. And I never did much like that, though. Music, blaring on a motorcycle, because that you kind of force your music on everybody else. So I always preferred to have, if I was going to have music, I popped it into my helmet, through earplugs or something. But anyway, it's got a trunk and a front, they call it, which is a trunk in the front, and then 2 saddlebags, and you can actually put a luggage rack on it if you so choose, and tie some stuff onto the top of the trunk. It's got a lot of space in it. The rear tire is about the same size as a car tire. If you see it, it's pretty big. But they're made by Can-Am, which is a Bombardier company out of Canada. They've been around for a little while, but they've gotten a lot more popular in the last few years. They've been around at least 10 years. And I see more of them. I've been seeing more of them all the time. I kind of always said I didn't want to ever go that route, but it may be that when this is all said and done, it's either that or nothing, and I don't want to say nothing. So that one's got, you can put a backrest on it, so I can have a lot of back support. The seats are heated. The grips. Hey, Hey, John, Surf Bum. Good morning, sir. The seats are heated. The grips are heated. The windshield's adjustable. I mean, it's a touring beast. So, which has not really been I've got to travel, but in a slightly different way. I don't know. Some of you have seen the motorcycle I've got now. I think it's on my Instagram page. It's a lot different than this. I'm sure I've got a picture of it somewhere, and I really like it. And I've not had it. I've not had it long enough. Oh yeah, and guess what? That motorcycle was called a Spider. I thought everybody'd get a kick out of that since I'm a Spider guy. I haven't gotten all the good out of my. I mean, that don't sound right, but the motorcycle I've got right now, I bought, the year before I really hurt my back, and I haven't gotten to ride it enough and travel enough on it. Just everything went to heck in the handbasket about the time my buddy Phil retired. So, we had stuff planned. He's been able to do a few trips. I haven't been able to do anything with him since he retired. So that's killing me. I had to, for a while, he didn't want to talk about it around me because he knew it made me feel bad, which I appreciate. But I don't want him doing that. I told him I have to live through you. So tell me all about it. But you've done something all your life. If you really enjoyed it, and I really enjoy it, it's hard to just give it up cold turkey. It's it's I don't know. I guess some would probably say, well, it's about as healthy for you as smoking, but I don't. I disagree. I do know this. It makes me incredibly happy, and that's to me is as important as pretty much anything else I can think of. Well, I can't find that picture, but anyway, I need to pay attention to you guys, not pay attention to that. Yeah, it was, John. We had a good time. Lunch was excellent. Their key lime pie is just, I'm sure somebody out there could tell me what is a better key lime pie, but it is a good key lime pie. And I broke every diet rule or every, trying to eat better rule in the book yesterday and had a whole piece of pie. But I don't get up there and get that pie very often. It's been a while since I'd been to Cootie Brown. That's the other thing. The place is called Cootie Brown's. And there's two of them now in Johnson City. The one we went to yesterday's been there for quite a few years now. But there's also one over by the East Tennessee State University campus. I've never been to it. And I don't know where they came from. Please, Don, do not call it a trike. The trike has two wheels in the back. I don't want one of those. So we're just going to call it a three-wheel motorcycle. I don't want to feel like I'm gotten that old yet. But it is a great solution. And I guess push come to shove, a trike would do for sure. I mean, I don't want to give up riding. I haven't wanted to do. It's I don't know. It's a way of life, and I don't mean that. I guess there's different branches of that lifestyle, and I'm not going to say one's better than another, but I mean everybody knows you got the 1%ers as they call themselves, the Harley Davidson, the Hell's Angels kind of guys, and then you got the far end of the scale where you've got scooter people that are literally riding around on scooters, and in the middle there you've got all kinds of different riders. But I mean, I always thought that there was a couple of things I did always believe, or I feel like, and one is you're either born a motorcycle rider or you're not. And what I mean by that is anybody can ride, anybody can be taught, but some people really love it from the very beginning, or they really could, take it or leave it, or they really don't like it and they leave. But the first time I ever rode one, I ran it into a bush inside of a garage and almost ran out in the road through the yard and scared the crap out of myself. But I knew right then and there I was going to ride more. I just had to learn how. So it's always stuck. And I got one as soon as I was old enough to get a license. And when I say I got one. My parents probably didn't want me to have one. As I got older, they thought I shouldn't be riding when I was getting too old. But but they did, and my dad, basically they agreed if you can buy it, you can have it, but we can't buy it for you. And they didn't have the money. I mean, I get that. Plus, that was their way, probably figuring I wouldn't ever get one, but I did. Yeah, 1%ers definitely have their own rules. That's true, John. That's very true. So I got a paper out, and I paid for my first one on delivering newspapers, and probably at least half or more than my second one I paid for that way. Now I got other part-time jobs, but so I've been riding for a long time. You could get a license when you were 14 in the state of Tennessee, and still can. The rules are different now. You can actually get bigger motorcycles now when you're 16, 14, which I'm not sure I agree with, I think. But I kind of like the way they do it in England. When I was growing up, by today's standards, a lot of motorcycles would be considered small motorcycles today. And by that, I mean engine displacement, horsepower, that sort of thing. Today, the technology is so far advanced that a lot of bikes are much bigger, and a big bike now is much bigger. And people over here seem to have this idea that you need to start big, go big or go home. And I don't agree with that. I think everybody should start out small, learn to ride. I actually think learning to ride in the dirt, in the field behind the house is one of the best ways you can learn, and moving up. And that's how Europe does it, or at least the UK. You have to start small. You get a learner's license first, and you have to stay a small displacement motorcycle, and you work your way up to bigger stuff. And I think that is a good way to learn. I think that's much safer in the long run. It lets you learn how to really deal with the bike before you get a hold of something that's going to wrap you around the fence post the first time you wrap the throttle. The only problem with that bike right now is they're kind of pricey, so I will have to, sell or trade my other one, which Brenda would probably insist I do anyway. But she doesn't think she is afraid I won't be able to ride it, and I say that like she wants me off of it, but that's not true. She has never asked me to stop riding or not to ride. It's just part of my life and our life. And she's ridden on it with me. I mean, we've traveled some on it. Not a lot. She hasn't gone any long trips yet. I had hoped to do that too when I retired. But this bike would make that more possible and more acceptable. And I want to go. There's so many places I want to go. There's so many new people I'd like to go meet, and visit their home states or their. I told Tina Marie the other day, she did a stream, the other day from that little town in New York, Little Falls, I believe is the name of it. And, it was on the Erie Canal. And I don't know if I posted it publicly on her stream or her page, but that sent me down a whole new rabbit hole of a place to go explore. I mean, I'd always known about the Erie Canal and the history of it, at least on the surface. And how important it was at that time for trade and that sort of thing. But I want to go see it now. I want to go up there and drive along the canal and see the locks that they put in and some of the other stuff that came about because of the canal. So that's just another place. I've always wanted to go up there and see the Adirondacks and the Finger Lake area and that part of New York anyway. And this gives me another good excuse to go up there and run. You can run from the Hudson River, the one end of the Erie Canal, all the way over to Lake Erie to the other end, which I think would be just great fun. So I have a lot of trips planned. For a long time, I had a whole list of what I used to call end-to-enders, where you find the beginning of a U.S. highway and you ride to the other end of that U.S. highway. Most U.S. highways, we get on a highway, we go somewhere. We don't much think about where it starts and stops. But, basically all roads start somewhere and go somewhere. And the U.S. highways, there's a website out there. I don't know how current it is right now, but it shows pictures of a lot of the ends of different road systems. For example, there's two roads that begin right here near me now that actually start here. And again, I'm talking about U.S. highways, United States highways, federal highways, whatever, that go from here to Florida. One of them is called 129, U.S. 129, and it begins right here in Knoxville and runs south all the way down to north of Tampa, Chieftain, Florida, I think, or something like that. It's I show you on a map, and that's the end of it. That's where it starts and stops. And I think it would be cool to take a picture at one end and go to the other end. And another highway that's similar to that is US 440. There's a 440 and 441. I'm doubting myself, okay, after the book titles. I couldn't remember in the 42 thing. Anyway, it starts just north of Knoxville and up by Norris Lake where I used to work. And it goes all the way to Miami. Now, these roads have been changed over the years. And some of them aren't. You can still follow the official routes, but in some places they've been upgraded to a different road. They take maybe maybe an interstate. I mean, the famous Route 66 that goes from Chicago down to near Los Angeles. Can't remember the town it actually stops in out there. Anyway, it goes down to the coast. The Mother Road, some people called it. A lot of people migrated out that way during the Depression. But anyway, that road is still out there, and there's a group of people that have marked it and continue to sort of hold up its legacy by trying to maintain sections. But there's a lot of sections that aren't open to traffic anymore, and some of them are paved over by another road, like Interstate 40. I-40 has replaced 66. And in some places, they literally paved over the original route. So you can still ride the route, but you can't technically ride that road. But they're trying to get more and more of it restored and open where they can and mark it, because the route's basically still there. There are some places where it's not maintained very well. But I'd love to do that. I mean, the Lincoln Highway, the first U.S. highway ever, they didn't give them numbers back then. They gave them names for a while. And the Lincoln Highway ran from New York to California or Oregon, but it went all the way across the upper part of the United States from coast to coast. It was the first U.S. highway and the first one that ran, that kind of distance. Yeah, it is 441. I said 440 for a minute. And because we have a whole bunch of those. There's a lot of roads like that intersect here in Knoxville, in this area, that, or whatever, it's like Interstate 40 and 75. They crisscross right here in Knoxville at Malfunction Junction. But 440 goes over the mountain through Gatlinburg, I believe, and 441 goes south down through to the park. Anyway, I get them mixed up, or I am there now. I usually don't, but I've got maps where I've marked those things off that I'd like to do. There are websites where you can go to find out about areas that the road may not be marked as well, or is now overlaid with other state roads in some cases, or other highways, and they may have changed the number in that section. So you have to kind of know how to navigate those areas, so you can go from 441 over here and make sure you end up on 441 over here. But Go Wings are a fine touring machine, Don. There's no doubt about that. That's this bike that I'm looking at right now, in many ways, kind of compares to a Go Wing. Go Wing people would say, no, that's not true. But there's a lot of Go Wings that have been converted over to trikes for the same reason I'm looking at one now. As people get older, those are big, heavy motorcycles. And in fact, I see more and more Harley Davidson trikes out there for the same reason. I mean, as people that ride get older and they have trouble holding them up and stuff, they want to keep riding so they find a way. And in fact, I was talking to the salesman yesterday at the bike shop, and he said that's most of their customers are coming in when they can't, or not no longer as comfortable on their two wheelers, and they trade them in to get one of these newer Can-Ams. And I'm in that crowd now. I have to accept that. Have you ever heard of 129, Dean? Because it comes down there too. Up here, 129 is actually famous for being in some circles for being the tail of the dragon. It is a famous, popular motorcycle road up here. And I've actually met people from around the world that come up here to ride that road because it's so twisty, and it's just famous. They built it up. I mean, there's a lot of roads in East Tennessee in this part of the country that are probably just as twisty and are pretty nice to ride. But what makes the Dragon so unique is that it goes through national park and state and forest lands. So there's not any driveway accesses along it. So you really don't have to worry about people pulling out in front of you and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of traffic on it on certain days now, and that's one reason I never go down there much. But there's no mailboxes, there's no access. People aren't pulling out from their house to go to the grocery store, kind of things all along, and it's just a road, one end to the other. There's a few pull-offs and a couple of forest roads accesses to it, for Forest Service roads that access it. But other than that, it's just a clean road, and it's usually kept up in real good shape. And their claim to fame is they have 318 curves and 11 miles. And so if you could straighten the thing out, it would go halfway to Florida. It is a great road. I mean, but like I said, there's a lot of roads up here like that. The local riders, people start talking about the Dragon because, like I said, it's famous all over. I've met people from around the world that go there, and people that come here just for it from other states and stuff. And a lot of local people kind of grin and laugh, and because they know where there's a half a dozen other places that they can go ride that's far less famous and therefore less crowded and are just as much fun to ride. But the one, like I said, the one thing they don't have that the Dragon has is no road, no driveways on it. So that is one difference. Yeah, you're right, Kay. I've got that mixed up again too. 441 does run across the mountain. That's why, because you can get on 441 here at what used to be Lake City is now called Rocky Top, but it's at just above the dam on Norris Reservoir, and that's where I worked, was on Norris mostly, and it runs from there all the way down to I can't remember the name of what they used to call it, where it ends in Miami, but I can't remember the area of Miami that they call that now, but it runs all the way down, and you can still ride it from here to there. A lot of it's 4-lane now in certain parts. It's got big sections that are 4 lanes, which is not a motorcyclist's dream, but a lot of it's still very nice 2-lane U.S. highway, which usually means they have it's wider, smoother, better maintained, generally speaking, because the states don't have to do it. It's wider shoulders, better view lines around curves and that sort of stuff, but it's really nice roads to ride as a rule. Yeah, the Dragon kind of does give you bragging rights. You can get the sticker and put on your motorcycle. Now, I've got a sticker just because I've been there. I used to, if I rode my bike over there, I'd put a sticker on it just to say I'd been. But I have kind of a funny story about that. We had a reporter. I think it was when there was going to be a motorcycle event here in town. The Honda Riders group used to have what they used to call the Honda Hoot, and it was started out in Nashville, North Carolina, but outgrew Nashville, so they moved it, or Asheville, so they moved it over to Knoxville. And when they did, the motorcycle club that I was involved in got involved in helping do tours or tell people places to go, and the Honda Hoot people created maps based on some of the stuff that guys I knew had given them for good rides, and so we were involved in that. So and I was secretary and the web page guy for a while for the club, and so I got a phone call one day, and it was a reporter from the local paper, and he was doing some motorcycle stories, some interest stories, of course. And hey, happy birthday, United States Air Force! Thank you, John. I did not remember that, of course. Is that today? See, I don't even know what day it is. Yes, it is. Well, that's cool. And that's the Air Force, not the Army Air Corps. So that's the day they officially separated and started to be their own thing. That's great. Anyway, this reporter called me, and he wanted to talk. I thought they wanted to talk about just motorcycle in general, the people who were coming to town. But all he really wanted to talk about was the Dragon, because that's what he knew. He wasn't a rider, and he just heard about the Dragon. Oh, Dean's got to leave. Whoa, man. All right, Dean. Well, you have a good day. Thanks for being here. Tell George we said hi if you see him. Tell him Teddy thinks he should, be part of the show. Maybe talk to him about that and see. But I told you before, though, be careful about salary negotiations. They're tricky about that. He's, ever since we made a deal with him, he's been trying to get more money. So I think that's one reason he's not on as much. Have a good day, Dean. So anyway, he wanted to talk about the Dragon, and I didn't, but he ended up quoting me misquoting me in the paper saying I rode the Dragon several times a week to keep my skills honed or something like that, which is not what I said. But in fact, I thought I said just the opposite of that. But anyway, what can you do? I'm sure it was an honest mistake on his part, but I tried to make it clear that a lot of locals didn't go down there as much because there were so many other people down there. So many out of town folk. Well, John, and back to the Air Force thing. Thanks, John, for that. I didn't realize that. I knew that, that separation, that creation of the official U.S. Air Force had happened sometime after World War II, but I couldn't remember exactly when. So that's pretty cool that today's their birthday. I wonder if they're playing Air Force Academy plays football today. They may do something special for it since it's their birthday. I'll have to look on TV schedule and see if they're playing anywhere. They don't get on TV a lot, so it could be that. So it could be that I won't see them, but you know what? I'm gonna take those off for a few minutes. I don't think I need them now. I had a terrible sound when I first started this morning. Dean and Don may have heard it. It almost sounded like a heartbeat. I don't know what it was. Telltale Heart. And that an Edgar Allan Poe story or poem. I think it was. Hey, Carol, are you back in or are you still out eating somewhere? You say you're out having breakfast, I guess, or coffee or something. If you are, tell your friends we said hi. Let them know what they're missing by not being here with us and joining us. Well, John, I'm going to ask you this. You don't have to answer. And I'm not trying to start any kind of fights or arguments. Just say that right now. But I would like to know, what do you think? What is your opinion of creating the Space Force as opposed to just letting the U.S. Air Force continue to have their program to take care of that? Do you think that was a needed thing or a necessary thing? Or do you think that's just, no, let's drop it at that. What do you think about that? Do you have an opinion? I don't know how many of you know, but John was a veteran. He was in the Air Force, and he worked in the missile department. So he was interesting job he had. I think we've talked about it on here before. I don't think I'm dumping tea on anybody's napkin that they didn't already know. It's gotten quiet in here. I'm gonna have to come up with a new topic that gets everybody going. I do have a topic I'd like to bring up eventually, but I've been kind of waiting. And hopefully John's still here, while he's contemplating the Space Force, I thought that I know some of you noticed, and some of you commented, and some of you may or may not pay any attention to it. But my name changes pretty much every time I'm on here, and there's a reason for that. Oh, that's what I thought, John. I mean, and I still feel that way. I just wondered, since you're a veteran and been there, done that, I was curious. I'm not sure what I think, and I won't go all the way down that path because I don't want to start that kind of discussion. But, I kind of, I won't say it. Never mind. I just think it was a sort of publicity thing, but I think it's probably a waste of money. I mean, I think that money could probably been just as well or better served by staying within the system and, doing stuff they did rather than creating a whole new department and a whole new, new uniforms and new supplies and paper letterhead. And I mean, all the things that go along with that. Anyway, I'm contrary bearer. And the reason I thought of that today was I was talking about the motorcycles. I've been told that I'm a paradox, because I'm on one hand I've always been very environmentally focused, a natural resources guy. That's what I went back to school to be. That's what I was, an amateur, if you will, before that. It's something I've always spent a lot of time studying. But at the same time, I worked in NASCAR for a couple of years, and that seemed like a contrary thing, and just stuff like that. And the fact that I still want to ride despite my bum leg, and just seems like a bit contrary. And contrary, of course, has a couple different meanings. But I don't know how many of you are aware, but there were Native American tribes that had what they used to call contraries, or contrary warriors, or people that tended to the Cheyenne people were kind of famous for this. But a contrary was just, in that society, they kind of did everything backwards, and literally they accepted that mantle, and they sort of took that on as a lifestyle. And they would, they may go as far as walk backwards. If you could do it frontwards, they could do it backwards, kind of thing. And I've read some interesting stories about that in Indian, Native American, I would say literature, but I don't know if that's the correct term, and stories, but also people who lived amongst the natives and documented their lives and things. So I just picked that today. I don't know why it fit, but it felt like it did today. Maybe it didn't. I've been contrary. I'm certain my wife would probably tell you that, but also ornery. But I didn't want to put ornery bear in there. That has to have more negative connotations. So contrary worked today. I'm not completely a contrary. I don't say no every time you say yes, but I don't know. Brenda might say that. So what else have you got on your mind today? Anything? Anybody? Well, I'm going to bring it up. I was waiting. Kay, please forgive me if you don't want this. I'm sure you're confused, Kay. That's what I was just getting ready to say. I know most of you are probably aware Kay has had a loss in her family. I wanted to take a moment to just speak of that a little. I don't want to dig a hole here. I don't want to. Seems like we talk about this kind of thing a lot, but I feel like we need to. But I don't want to drag people down necessarily. This is not a place and time for that, but I also don't want to always avoid it. And oh my God, it's the Mickey Bunch. Kelly, where are you travel? You're such a traveler, continental traveler. Where are you today? Anyway, as a lot of you know, Kay's had a loss in their family yesterday, and it's always tragic, no matter how that loss comes. And theirs was in I guess one of the more tragic ways. And I just wanted to bring that to light. Everybody think about Kay and her family and what they're going through and why she's a confused cat today. It is a tough topic to talk about at any time, and especially when someone you know and love takes their own life and you don't know why. And I think that's a difficult thing to understand. I think it's a difficult thing to deal with a lot of times. I think part of that difficulty in this, I'm sure, is in their case right now, is that you don't know why, you don't know what happened. You always feel like, what could you have done? I think you feel, I mean, my experience has been, what could you have done? What could I have done different? How could I have helped? Why didn't he come to me or she come to me? We don't know all those answers. If you've ever dealt with any depression, and I have, fortunately not to that level, but it's tough, and you don't always know who to go to and who to talk to. It helps if you can, and I encourage you to do so if you have any thoughts or any kind of depression. I take great solace in you folks and the people I talk to online and the people I've come to know in this community that are so have such heartfelt feelings for the people here who many times we barely know, but we, regardless of that, how deep that knowledge base is, we do feel for them, have feelings for them and with them, and share their happiness and their sorrows at time. And it's always a sad time to go through. It is just, anyway, Kay, I just wanted to mention it and give you guys our thoughts and prayers. If you pray or if you don't pray, or if you pray in your own way, I'm not gonna go down a religious path. I don't judge on that. Everybody has their own way of dealing with these things and thinking about them, and whatever you want to call it is your choice and your way of doing it. But keep her in mind and send on some good thoughts and positive vibrations out their way, if you will, and they can use them right now, I'm sure. Okay, good luck. And if you need anything, if we can do anything for you, please let us know. I know this community well enough by now to know that people will reach out, and they will lift you up. And I can't remember the term, but high tide raises all boats kind of thing. That's I have found that this community does that as well or better than any I've ever seen or been around. I don't know if I've ever been around a more thoughtful, generous group of people than are in this Disney / YouTube community that we've built, or that I didn't build it. I just became part of it. And I appreciate the openness and willingness to let people like me in. And the same goes. And so we're here. Just let us know. And I don't want to drag that on, but please take care, my friend, and let us know what we can do. And now I'm moving. I get myself teared up there. Okay. Yes, I'm a man, and yes, I do get teary sometimes. I'm emotional. I mean, I've been that way for a long time. I don't go to movies much. My wife hates this about me, and she doesn't really understand it either. And I'm not sure I do, but I don't go to a lot of movies because of the emotional. What's the right way to explain this? I get emotionally involved in stuff so deeply that it seems to affect me in ways that I don't necessarily like. And so I tend to avoid movies. I tend to avoid even my favorite television shows that are, if they're coming to an end that I don't think's suitable or unhappy, I tend to not watch them. She gets so mad at me about that sometimes. And yet there's other things that, don't affect me like they do other people. So I don't know. Anybody else that way? I mean, I'm sure that is ridiculous. And I'm sure some people would tell me I need to just grow up or get over it. But that's just, I don't like to admit it in public. So there's only a few people in here. And if any of you pass this along, I'll swear I never said it. But, I probably am a softy bear in many ways. I'm a bit of an empath. I tend to take on others' feelings and make them my own sometimes, whether I'm should or not. And that's something I've kind of learned about myself over the years. And maybe that's gotten even more so as I've gotten a bit older. But I care about people and I care about things. And even when they're fictional people and fictional characters in movies, I tend to carry their burden. And sometimes it's such a relief when it's over and they're okay. That's maybe ridiculous, but that's just how it is with me. And that's why I don't watch a lot of movies. Like I say, Brenda just hates it. I mean, it took me forever to watch Mulan on Disney Channel because I didn't want to not like it. I didn't want to take the chance that it was just going to be a letdown. And I know for some it might have been. I liked the movie. I didn't expect anything different. I mean, sure, there was a lot of hocus pocus in it, but that's the way a lot of those movies are. Okay, that's great. And we don't have to know. You just have to know. And if we're helping you, that's what we're here for. That's what we want to do. And you don't have to explain it. You don't have to try to tell us. But if we're doing it wrong, you can tell us that. Thank you, John. Don't tell my doctor that, though. She don't want my heart to get too big. And they always talk about the Grinch, his heart grew 3 sizes too big. And that, if you talk to the doctor, they don't like that. And I'm not being serious, but thank you, John. I take a lot of stuff to heart, and that was one of the problems I had with my job. Maybe not a problem, but it did at times put me at odds with some of my coworkers or like the homeless, for example. But we were the stewards and guardians of federally owned property in this part of the country, and which means it belongs to each and every one of you in this chat room, and it belongs to me, it belongs to my kids, it belongs to everybody, and we take care of it. And we have a lot of people that use and abuse it both, and that tends to lead to also having a lot of people that need a place to stay sometimes. And if they find a remote or isolated spot they can camp on for a while, sometimes they will do that and in a way squat, homestead, take up residence to a degree. And that can be a problem. And of course they're not supposed to do that, but it happens. And I used to have people that were on our property on a regular basis in some of my areas, and I would have to ask them to move to another spot. But one of the things I did, and I don't know, it's like I said, some people wouldn't agree, but I would, unless they were really abusing the property, if they were really they were really being mean or being destructive, that's one thing. But one of the things I found was usually people, if they're trying to keep a low profile, they tend to clean up better. They tend to not want to bring attention to themselves. And a lot of times with someone like that, I've been even known to get out a map and show them a place to go. They could go here and stay a couple of weeks. We had a rule, you can stay on our property up to 2 weeks at a time, but then you had to move somewhere else. Then we had people in the summertime that would take their kids and camp out around the lake. They were out of school. The kid, maybe the mother was taking care of them at home, and they might have done that. Dad might have, maybe it wasn't a dad, but Dad might have drove up every night and they went fishing when he got there or something. And, but they have to move after a couple of weeks. You have to move to another spot, and you have to move at least so far up or down the river. And, hey, buddy. And you ready to get on? You want to be on internets? You ready to say hi to the webs people? Anyway, I would show them where to go. I'd try to help them out. We would basically, the way it worked was if we caught somebody and we weren't sure exactly when they got there, we'd give them 2 weeks from that day. And I would tell people, you've got, I don't know how long you've been here. Maybe you've already been here 2 weeks, but since I can't prove that, you've got 2 weeks from now to find another spot. And if I really felt like they needed help, and some of them did. I would try to help them find another place to move to. A lot of them were staying out of their car, or they might be living in a tent beside their car. But it's really hard for me to just put somebody back out on the street. I mean, they're already on the street, but if I could help them find another place to stay for a little while, I did that. And I know some people might not agree with that, or some of my coworkers may not have agreed. It wasn't anything illegal about it. It wasn't anything wrong with it. I mean, they could do that legally, and I just explained to them what they had to do. But I also made sure they kind of knew where they could and couldn't go, so they didn't get in trouble again, or so they knew how long they were there. Thank you, Dawn, for those kind words, Kay. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody's patience or willingness to let me talk about subjects like that. Last week we had some other discussions about some things going on, but I don't want to dwell on that. Most people don't want to turn this into a sad place, or I sure don't want to turn it into a place of arguments or political or otherwise. So, but I think we need to support our friends and our family. As someone says, the family we choose, not the one we were born with necessarily. So, but anyway, I did stuff like that. I just couldn't feel good about myself. I used to tell people, and people I worked with and people I've known over the years, that one of the main things you got to be able to do every day is look yourself in the mirror. And if you can't look yourself in the mirror in the morning, then something's wrong. And as long as I was trying to do the right thing, I didn't have a problem with that. And we had people, and I think this is another generational thing too, and somebody else can jump right in here. But I think as people have gotten a little bit more, I don't know if this is an internet thing, this society we live in today, because of COVID, more and more people are working from home. Maybe we're not as social as we used to be, but I don't think we deal with people as well often. I grew up where you met and talked and dealt with people face to face. You built relationships based on trust and, again, looking a man in the eye and knowing he or she was, being straightforward with you. And I don't know how many people, another book analogy here, but I don't know how many people know who Patrick McManus is, but he used to write for Outdoor Life, and he wrote hilarious, funny outdoor stories, and he wrote several books. And I highly recommend Patrick F. McManus. If you've never read a book of his, grab one and laugh your butt off, because they are so funny. And if you're like me and grew up in the country, in the woods, you can associate with a lot of them. John, if you haven't read, I highly recommend you. I think you would for sure. And but anybody out there who hasn't, if you don't have a book and you can't find one, by God, I've got one right here. I'll read it to you. Ouch. Come here. Oh, say hi. Say hi, everybody. Say hi, my web fans. How's everybody doing? Whoa. Oh. What's the matter? Don't be shy. Don't be getting embarrassed. He was down here grabbing a hold of me and pulling on me, and so I figured he might want some kind of attention. That usually means he wants something. Of course, usually it's a scratch behind the ear that he's wanting. But just in case, I figured it's time for him to. Okay, John. I should have thought you realized it's about time for your phone call. Hope he's doing okay. Let us know when you get back, or later you can tell me how's his hips doing. I know he had a fall, so I hope he's doing okay. Talk to you later, buddy. There's Miss Carol. Miss Carol saying hi. You want to tell everybody about your brother, Simon? Mm-mm. You're not even going to look at the camera? You're not going to show everybody your eyes. You got pretty eyes. Why do you act like there's people watching you and you don't want to react? Hmm? You want back down? You know, get in your chair. All right. I don't know. Giving him his own chair might have been the wrong thing to do because ever since he got his own chair here, he tends to be more, a little bit more uppity. I may have to put a camera down here on him so he can join in the chat. I need to do that probably. Yes, of course, if he's asleep, he's not much company. Are you? He's a cuddle bug. He knows his he knows his human's got a soft spot for him. So he comes over and crawls on me and curls up at night. He gets excited. If I tell him we're going to go to the couch and sit down and watch TV for a while, he gets so excited. He can't wait. In fact, he can't wait so much. Sometimes he gets under me trying to get in the seat before I get there, and we have to tussle for who's going to hold who, except he doesn't, he can't really hold me as well. Okay, back to the yes, Teddy is getting a big head, Carol. He's still a good boy though. He's a sweetheart. He can be the most loving cat I think I've ever had. At least, if not the one of the. When I sit down on the couch and I sit. I have a couch seat that reclines so I can raise my feet up and rest a little bit and take some weight off my hips. And he comes over and sometimes he'll just get as tied up against my chin as he can get, and he just purrs and I love a cat purring. Anyway, I've told him I wish he could teach me how to purr. I'd love to be able to purr like that. So let me read what Dawn said. Hey, I can do this. I think. The internet has given rise to folks who will say things in anonymity they would never. Yes, that's very true. It's like the old, the old stories where somebody will say, "You better hope I don't run into you down the street, because if you do, me and you're going to have a tussle." Of course, you never run into them down the street. They can always say something when you're not right in front of them, or about you, or about them, and the internet has given a lot of that. I think that's part of the problem we've had with things like everything from COVID to relations to certainly politics and all kinds of things. You can say anything. Unfortunately, you can say anything on this format and the internet, and YouTube is part of that. Also, just about all social media has some blame here, and you have no repercussions. I mean, they might kick you off the air, but chances are you'll figure out a way to come back. I mean, it's just not. You know what, Don? You might be right. Maybe I shouldn't let him see that anymore. Of course, he gives me the ideas, so I don't know. Anyway, I lost track here. Let me back up. Yeah, he was easier to deal with before he had his own Instagram account. And I see, Kelly, you said something to me. I appreciate those words. I do. I'd like to, if I can't be anything in my life, I'd like to be a good man. I don't want to be remembered for other things. I'd just like to be remembered for being a good guy and try to be an honest man all the time. I'd like to try to deal with people straightforward as I would like to be treated. I won't lie. I can be an SOB at times, I'm sure. And I'm hard-headed sometimes when it comes to how to do things. When I used to have my job, when I used to work on airplanes, and I took a lot of this to heart, I suppose, but there's only two ways you can do that kind of work usually: the right way and the wrong way. And sooner or later, the wrong way is going to catch up with you, and you're not going to be the only one to pay for it. And I took that to great heart. And, I didn't want accidents on my watch. I didn't want things coming back broken or wrong. And like I said, you with an airplane, you can't afford to make too many mistakes. Man, I'm not trying to make that too deep a subject either. But I've always tried to be very fastidious, studious about those things. And hey, Dave, good morning, Space Mountain Dave. Good to see you, buddy. Anyway, if I'm remembered as that, then I'm fine. I don't have to be the guy that invented the nuclear bomb or the figured out how to make helium out of nitrogen, or I just want to be. I want people to say that Tim was a good guy. So, that would make me happy. It's nice to get recognized once in a while when you do something right, like at work. Nobody's opposed to an attaboy or two, but unfortunately, if you know that story, you know how that works. It's, one, oh, heck, gets rid of all your attaboys, which doesn't seem quite fair, does it? What's Dave up to today? You got anything special planned for today? Let me see. I got to read Kay's. Kay has a good comment here. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's so much crap said in some places now. I mean, we see it. We see people come into chat rooms and just trolling to stir up a fight or to start something, or and they know that you can't get to them. I mean, they know that the most you can do is block them, or a mod can block them out of the chat room, and they also know that there are ways to get around that. To me, a lot to, it just depends on how dedicated they are to messing with you, trolling you. That's a shame. I mean, it's always been like that. There's always been those people out there, but usually you didn't have to deal with them, and a lot of times, a lot of us didn't have. Now any of us can have to deal with them on any given day. Back in my day, or our day, or whatever you want to call it, if you weren't right in front of them, you probably didn't have to deal with them. So, they weren't a big deal. But now they can be everywhere. There's a character from, I think it was Dudley Do-Right, Savoir Faire. Savoir Faire is everywhere. We're all everywhere now. The things I've said here this morning can be listened to in Africa tomorrow, or Beijing, China, or it's amazing. I mean, it really is amazing. And yet people right down the street don't have a clue. They don't have a clue who, this bear is, or Tim Pruitt is, or who the, Princess Red here, Miss Kelly is, or much less that she has a good friend named James Ryan, who's not been on here this morning. If you talk to him, you tell him I was looking for him. Yo ho. I've been working, you guys don't know this, and I don't know if I've got a copy of it. Let me see. For the longest time, I've been trying to come up with a couple of different things related to my webpage. And bear with. I'm always saying that. I'm always reaching for something. I should be better prepared. And I've been trying to come up with different stuff. I've got a pirate's flag back here, and I like to fly my pirate's flag. And that goes way back. It's actually not just from internet stuff. When I was working, I had a group of young folks that came to work for us. Sort of like interns, and they were out in the field with me a lot, or us all, but me in particular at times. And I became known as Captain Tim in the boat, and they gave me pirate stuff to put on my boat. Somebody came up with a Long John Silver's pirate hat from the restaurant, and somebody else gave me some Mickey Mouse, not Mickey Mouse, Disney related stuff that came from like McDonald's Happy Meals. Stuff they were, I think, probably giving out or doing back when the pirate movies started coming out. So I've always had this pirate thing going on. And so I've been trying to come up with a scheme, and now I can't find it. I had it drawn here somewhere. I thought I had it right here. I've got two versions of it, but these are just the base drawings. They don't have all the details. Just, chat amongst yourselves there a minute. Let me, my Medicare book here, I may have stuck it in here. I'm working on that kind of stuff these days. That's when I'm having to do adulting stuff. Get that, Teddy. Would you? Well, the devil. This has been one of the drawings I was working on. I bet you can't even see that. I was trying to use this for a logo for a while because I used to use that for a touch mark. I've showed some of you on my knives. I used to use the TP with my initials in it as a touch mark. Hang on just one moment. Let me turn around here and see if I can't find something. I'll leave the mic on, so don't anybody talk about me. Oh, wait a minute. I can't hear you. You can hear me. And since my face isn't on the screen, if I say something I'm not supposed to say on the internet, you can't prove it's me. Not that I've been known to do that, but it happens. Oh, well. I can't find it. Okay, I'm back. So I've been looking for different things as a logo, and I'm going to figure out a way to use something like this and add it to what I've already drawn up. I think I'm probably going to have to not get too much more complicated than what I've already got, but man, what have I done with my drawings? And I found this online. I saw something like this on the back of a car the other day, and I thought, oh, Tennessee Bear. So I'm gonna incorporate this into not the whole thing. I mean, I'm not gonna steal somebody's sticker, but I see I have an idea with the flag, part of the flag being represented there with my bear logo, which I would show you, but I can't find. That's what happens when you sort of halfway clean up stuff. It ends up in places you don't know where it's at anymore. Yeah, I thought it was too. I mean, after I looked at it, Don, I thought, wow, that's perfect. And I'm sure this probably isn't some kind of copywritten design or anything. It's not like you can't. I mean, I've seen a lot of different variations on it, so I'm sure I can come up with something that's can be mine. But and maybe all I need to do is put my initials on the butt. But I'm going to come up with something similar to this. I like this a lot, and it actually meant to give Cherie one yesterday. And here's my basic drawing I was working with. This may seem a bit odd, but this is I don't know how well you can see this. It's in pencil. That's a skull drawing of a black bear skull. And I've got a picture of it somewhere around here that I've been drawing. It's got a bandana on it around its head. No eye patch. And then something below it. I can't remember what I've used below it to I don't know if I used knives below it like that one I showed you a minute ago to make like a skull and crossbones. And I thought, well, why not use a bear skull? I've been working on this for weeks and just not quite gotten it finished. And then I saw this flag. That I got this idea with the flag and the stars, and I thought, man, I need the flag. This is the Tennessee flag behind me, in case you don't know. And today I have my Irish flag up, and of course my Welsh dragon over here. And I have a funny story about Welsh dragons, but I'll tell that in a moment. It's sort of an adult story. Dawn, you don't know the half of it. I've been trying to clean and put up stuff for months, a little at a time, because I can't get up and do it all at once. And I usually have to have help, unfortunately. I'm pretty needy at the moment. Brenda would probably say I'm needy all the time, but I've been really needy for the last few months, needless to say. Last winter, I had a really big mess down here. I had started cleaning out stuff and moving stuff, and I have a closet over here, walk-in type closet, storage closet, hamper almost, or a pantry almost thing at one time. And I got my bows and some of my old rifles and muzzle loaders, things like that stored in it. And so I started working on it, and half of that was laying out here in the floor, and I had stuff just everywhere. So back at Christmas, when I was recovering from surgery, Brenda talked the girls into coming over with their husbands, and they did a big cleanup, which scares the hell out of me, because I don't throw I keep a lot of stuff other people won't keep. I'm not totally a pack rat. Again, she would probably differ with you, but I'm not a complete pack rat, but I do keep stuff. It's my nature. My dad kept stuff. He recycled, bent nails. If you grew up with parents that were part of the Depression era, they kept everything. If there was anything useful about a ball of string, they had one. And so I'm like that, I guess. But so they came down here and they cleaned up and put a lot of stuff in clear plastic containers so I could find them, go through them. And that's a good idea. And that's what I've been working on since, a little at a time. Archives, exactly. That's a better word. And, but I still can't find stuff. I don't look yet. I got over here in the floor by the fireplace a few days ago and finally found something I'd been looking for weeks, because I couldn't figure out where it had disappeared to, and it was in another box, and I just had to dig deep enough. They meant well. I love them for it. It helped a ton. It's still helping me a ton. Behind me here, I don't know what I can show, but I've got a freezer that I put let me open the curtain. Behind curtain number 2 here. Can I do this in any way? And you guys be able to see through me. But see, I've got stickers on my freezer. I've got umbrella stickers. I've got the Hitchhiking Bone sticker on there. That's my newest favorite place. And some motorcycle stickers. I've got a bear sticker that says "You are in bear country." I thought that was appropriate too, because when you come in this room, you're in bear country. And I was getting ready to put one of these on there just to have it on there too. But I also have an ice machine back here. I have a little ice maker that was upstairs that Brenda didn't want upstairs because it took up space on her counter. So now I'm responsible for that. And there's some other things sitting there right now that I need to move. But there's a table back there that for a while I worked on when I was working from home, when I was still working. And it was the desk, part of my other desk, because I had a separate laptop and stuff for work that I had to use. And, it's dedicated for work. It was from work. It had all my work stuff on it. And, you couldn't mix the two because they had special. Curtain number 1 with the dragon is hiding my TV and my cable box. And you can see some other stuff back there where I've been moving some junk around. And curtain number 3, in this case, the Irish flag, is covering up my gun safe. So, just more parts of the bear cave. But anyway, I've been trying to work on all that. So I'm trying to get, stuff moved back into my closet in a way that makes a lot more sense than it used to. And, I'm getting there slowly but surely. But I'm still looking for stuff. And of course, as I've said here this past few months, and I've got a tray right here that's full of, my knife sharpening supplies, my knife making stuff. Well, that's a good thing, Kelly, because Lord knows I need all the help I can get. You know what, Dave? That's a funny thing. When I worked on airplanes, my toolbox, while not the picture of efficiency, was very much like that. I could reach up in my toolbox blindfolded, and you could ask me for a tool, and I could find the drawer, open that drawer, and find that tool in that drawer, because I had a drawer for everything, and an order of which I put everything in that drawer. When I left aircraft work and started just having stuff, for one thing, from the time I left the airplane business and moved from down there where I live near Nashville, I never had a place till I moved in here where I could really work with my stuff, my tools, my equipment, stuff that I've had in storage for years, stuff I'm still unboxing after more years than I care to tell you. But for a long time, I lived in housing and stuff where I didn't have a garage or a space to put that. And now I do, but I haven't gotten it all out yet. That's another thing I wanted to do in retirement, was recreate my garage from 20 years ago. Anyway, I could do all that. And my wife looks at me now on my desk or even my toolbox. She says, "What happened to you?" She said, you used to have everything so neat, and everything was laid out in a certain place, a certain drawer, and you could always find it. And now you can't find diddly. And she's right. It's something happened. A switch clicked off or something. So I got to find that switch or reset the circuit breaker or something so I can get my stuff in order again. I've got a little three-wheel, back to the three-wheel concept. I've got a little scooter, literally a scooter, Honda, that has, it's a three-wheel Honda gyro. And the gyro has, I acquired it through former son-in-law. I don't have a clue where he got it. And I'd like to rebuild it. It was made in the early 80s, so it's not I guess it's over 25 years old, so it's an antique in that regards, but I was going to try to find a picture of it, but it's, it's kind of cool. You don't see them anymore. Honda made them and sold them over here for 2 or 3 years. And I used to see them in the pits sometimes. Different people would ride them around at races and on them at races as a pit bike. And they're cool because they've got 2 wheels in the back and one in the front, but they tilt. They actually lean. The back wheels stay solid on the ground. You can lean the front, and they still use them in Europe or in Asia. Honda kept making them and selling them over there. I've seen them they put baskets on them front and back, and they haul everything on them. I mean, they're quite impressive what those folks can put on a motorcycle. But I've kind of wanted to rebuild that, so I'd like to. Another thing I kind of hoped I might get to do when I retired was, start tearing that thing apart, and if I can get enough pieces for it and enough parts for it, put it back together. I was going to see if I had a picture of this thing. It's really unique. The chances are, even if you've been around motorcycles, there's a good chance you've never seen one, because they weren't here that long. I've even got a manual for it. I bought a manual for it so I could start figuring out what it needed. And it needs a few body parts and it needs some other things, but I think I can find all that stuff. I just have to be able to work on it again. So, I told Brenda the other day, even if I have to, or I was talking, I think I told Brenda, I might have told Teddy. Teddy and I talk a lot. If I have to get a wheelchair and ride around in the garage in a wheelchair just so I can work on stuff, I'll just have to rebuild my tool workbenches so things are low enough for me to work on. That's all I know. And I would like to restore that. That's again something else I used to do was build stuff, and that's something I hadn't been able to do in a long time. Man, where is that thing? I know you guys don't care, but it gives me something to talk about. Oh, sorry again. Well, so much for that. But anyway, they're kind of cute motorcycles. They were called a Gyro, Gyro. I think they brought them here in 82, maybe 83, 84. And then they quit bringing them to the United States because they didn't sell that well. Scooters have had their moments here where they're popular and then not, and then popular and then not. And usually they make comebacks when there's fuel shortages or gas costs a lot of money, because most of them get tremendous gas mileage. And so they become popular again for stuff like that. But okay, I'm going to stop looking. What else is up today? Let's see, what time is it? I bet I have burned more time. I tell you what, if I have to start paying you guys to be here, and of course it'd probably help if I did, I'd probably have more visitors. Man, I'd be in trouble. I owe you all a small fortune. I had hoped to have a guest. I'm trying to figure out a way, and I'm working on this, to invite a friend of mine and see if I can get him to come online with me. Oh, I've been on 2 hours. It's probably time to get wound down. Oh, wow, you guys can see my microphone there. What did I do? And see if I can get him to do an interview. I'm not sure if he will. I think he probably thinks this is silly. He's contrary, ornery at times. I love him to death. Don't get me wrong. He's my best friend, but I'm not sure he would take me seriously. He's known me too long, probably. But I'd like to get him on here and interview. And I'm still waiting. And anyone who's in here now or in the future wants to ever be on, join me for a conversation one Saturday morning, you just let me know, and we will work that out. I am quite sure that we can find something interesting to talk about. And if I don't know about it, I'll still tell you about it. Somebody used to tell me, if I can't dazzle you with brilliance, I'll baffle you with BS. I'll find something. There's a common, my tastes and experiences are so eclectic that I about bet there's something we've got in common. Oh, I just saw something. Let me see if I can get this picture down before we go here. Let me show you something. Again. I'm back. I am learned to do a lot of things with a grabber, like a reach out and pick things up. So I actually was able to do this without getting out of my chair. This is a photograph taken in, I believe, March of 1992. And you're not going to be able to see it that well, but right right here, the second guy, the second guy there with a beard is me at a much younger age. And this is at Daytona Speedway. We were on the pole that year for the race we were in, which was the, I think we were running a 300-mile race back then. That was what used to be the Busch Grand National Series. They call it something else now. That was our driver that year, Jeff Green. And TIC was the company I worked for, the guy that owned the team. And our uniforms that year, this was a lot of changes were happening in NASCAR about this time. It had some accidents, it had some fires, different people had gotten hurt. Everybody was wearing a fire suit. So we had, it was cool. We were cool, and we were on the pole, so we were right down there. This was an official photograph they took of the team for being on the, the pole that year. Unfortunately, something happened to the car, and I can't remember now if he got hit, ran into, something happened, and he fell back. I can't remember where we finished now. In fact, that we might have had to park the car before it was over with, but we had a good start. He was fast. The car was fast. Okay, what's Mickey? I have a house about a mile south of the Speedway. Do you rent that house out, Kelly? We should talk. Only because I'm always looking for a place to stay during bike week, or I used to be. Maybe I will again someday. And I'm a really good guest. I don't tear up things. I don't do parties. I don't have a lot of wild drinking. We used to stay in a condo guy. I don't want to say a friend because he and I got to know each other. I never met him face to face. He owned the condo in New Smyrna Beach, and we used to rent that out from him once a year for bike week and stay, a week to 10 days. Hey, buddy, come here. And you want to get on screen again? You want to get on? Want to be on the internets? Yes, no, maybe. Come here. You want to come up here? Let's see if he'll stay here for a minute. He's probably not going to. Nope. Back to the chair. Anyway, we used to go to bike week. He and Phil and I used to go to bike week. Our friend Henry would join us sometimes from Texas. He's now in Indiana. He retired before we did. He worked for American Airlines, and we'd all go down there and just oogle bikes for a week. I was telling a guy yesterday, different things I've ridden in my life. I used to have a notebook. I still have it somewhere. I need to find it. Of all the motorcycles I've ridden, I used to kind of keep track of everything I'd ever been on so that I would know, how many different things I've ridden in my life. And they do demo rides in Daytona every year. Most of the manufacturers did. So we'd get in line and start doing demo rides. I think one year we had I can't remember how many rides we got in one year. It was 20-ish, which may not sound like much till you think about having to, wait in line and all the people down there. But I had a lot of fun. I got to test a lot of motorcycles to see if I liked them or didn't like them. And met some really interesting people. It kind of got me started on a path, and I've got notes for this too somewhere. I was going to write a book. It's already been done now, but I was going to write a book. I had an idea for a book or some articles about women in motorcycling, not just riders, but professionals. I met a very interesting young lady in line one day, one year. Ended up being in line with her several times, it turns out. And after she got to know us a little bit and talked to us, we found out that she was actually an undercover representative for the Harley Davidson company. And her job was to go around riding the competition. And she would go do demo rides and ride as much different stuff as she could to go back and say, this is what they're doing, and this is what company B's doing, and Big Red Honda's doing this, and Big Green, Mean Green Kawasaki's got this. And, of course, Harley Davidson didn't build the same kind of bikes most of those companies build. So they weren't that comparable, but they were kind of looking into that market, I think, more. So it probably was a lot of what she had to do. Very interesting. I actually ran into her a couple of years down there. Of course, we weren't allowed to, tell everybody who she was and what she did, but it was interesting. I found that, and I wanted to write about that because I've learned more and more women that were involved in things like that back then, and dealing with the motorcycle groups, and in the industry that I never heard about before. So just one of the many things I got into. I've been trying to write the Great American Novel most of my life, so maybe one of these days I'll get it. Okay, who have I got left in here? Everybody's been very quiet. Not a lot of comments. You say a mile, if you're still in here, Kelly, you say you got a house about a mile south of the Speedway. Would that be like in the Belleville area, or? I don't know if that's an area. There is a street down through there named that. That'd be cool. Of course, if you do rent it, you probably get a small fortune during those weeks because prices go way high. Off Beeville. Yeah, I know where that's at. Well, I mean, I don't know where your house is, but I know where that area is. I lived in Daytona Beach for a while too, when I was going to airplane school, or learning how to work on them at Embry-Riddle. You've probably seen that or go by it if you're there a lot. It's a big place now. When I went there, it was not very big. My classrooms were over by the airport and the Speedway, actually, but in just some old Quonset hut type buildings that were. You know what, Don? I should. I mean, I'm not saying that just because I think it's been an interesting life, but I've done a lot of stuff in my life. And on top of the stuff I was doing to get paid and earn a living, I did a lot of other stuff. And, when I was growing up and being taught life lessons or told things, that one of the things that somebody told me along the way was, be as diverse as you can. When you get older, you may need it, or you may have to have another job doing something else. So I tried to learn as many things as I could. Back then, mostly labor type skills, but push came to shove, I could just about work on anything and fix most of it. Plus I was, I kind of learned to figure out how to fix that, build things and fix things maybe that needed to be done. We built some things for airplanes a couple of times that we needed a part for it nobody made, so we kind of figured out how to do it. And I was involved in that kind of stuff. So some of that I was sort of a self-taught, not an engineer. I was not an engineer, but I could do that if I had instructions for something, or if I had the basic plans and that kind of stuff. I could usually build it or fix it, or I knew it had to have certain materials and X amount of strong and that kind of stuff. I just thought my mind's always worked that way. Plus, then on top of that, I spent time in the woods, and even in the middle of my most technical career days, I was also doing muzzle loading and building rifles and antique type, muzzle loading rifles, and still into history. History has stuck with me most of my life. Probably two constants in my life besides Brenda were probably my love of history, my love of nature, or three, and my love of motorcycles. Those three things have pretty much been with me the whole way. And I probably should write some of that stuff down. I don't know if anybody'd read it, but I ought to write it down just for my own benefit, if nothing else. I met some interesting people in my last job when I worked for when I was with TVA. Good friend of mine, I was just talking to her the other day. She had gotten a hold of Brenda. She was moving and getting ready to move into a new house. And she brought up a story. I can tell this. I don't think anybody, I don't know if you can appreciate it or not, but this is just a quirk. You meet people when you're out doing the kind of thing I do, and some of you guys work with the public. You've done things in real estate or various other positions where you run into people. But there's one of the things that's makes life fun sometimes is the unique people you can meet along the way. And again, they can either be, I guess that can be a bad thing or a good thing. I usually try to find the good things in it. And I don't mean to be laughing at anybody, but she and I we were out trying to get some information about some road work in the highway department. I can't remember why we were there, but we had to go to one of the highway maintenance shed garages where they worked on their equipment in the particular county we were in. And so we went there, and there was one guy there, and he was cleaning up some stuff, and he was the only one there. Everybody else had gone somewhere on a job, and I guess they left him there to answer the phones and, just be there in case somebody came. And we showed up, and he was a really friendly guy, but he had a quirk in that literally every sentence he said, every comment he made, every response to us ended in the words, "and everything." So, for example, he said, "Well, I guess I've been here a couple hours. It's probably about time to sign off on everything." Or, "Let's go out to lunch and see if we can't get us a burger somewhere and everything." Well, we went down there and had a job down there last week and everything. And while we were there, we had to put in 2 tons of rock and everything. And it was a big deal. And we finally got backlayed and everything that night. I mean, everything he said was "and everything." And it's hard sometimes not to find some humor in that. Of course, we didn't express that to him and to his face in this case. Wouldn't want to embarrass the guy. And he probably didn't even realize he was doing it. But after that, for the longest time, we'd have conversations just out of clear blue. One of us would end the sentences with "and everything," and try to say it enthusiastically, because he kind of did. He kind of added a little bit of enthusiasm to his "and everything," because apparently when you get to do lunch and everything, it's a big deal. And it was so funny. And the other day I got a note from her, and she said she was packing up and getting ready to move and everything. And I just about rolled in the floor. Now, I know that's probably not funny to anybody else, but it was. We had a lot of she and I talked a lot in that truck and when we were on jobs together. And, those kind of conversations came up a lot. So anyway, that was it and everything. So I've met a lot of people like that. Some real interesting ones. I started to tell a story a while ago, and I just realized I never finished it. But I mentioned Patrick F. McManus, and I'll tell this, and then I'll kind of wind down here. But Pat McManus he talks about how to talk to people and work with people and get along with people, and if you got a project or something. And I can't remember if he was saying this guy was like a game warden. He talks about game wardens and wildlife professionals a lot because he was an outdoor rider. And he described some people as hunkers. That's HUNKERS, I guess would be how you spell it. And in this case, he meant somebody who hunkered down. And one thing he wanted to make clear, and this was actually the title of I'll have to get this and read it to you next week or something. The title of the chapter, I believe, "A hunker is not a squat," because a squat has entirely different connotations if you're having to take a squat somewhere. And we'll let that go at that. Yeah, there are, Kay. I mean, and everybody probably knows what I'm talking about. So that was just funny to us. I mean, it was just, and the guy was a nice guy, nice as he could be. Like I said, he probably didn't even realize he was doing it. It was a habit, but it was kind of funny. But anyway, I'm a hunker, and I tried to explain that to some people because I worked with people who didn't know how to deal with that, but I could work with farmers or people out that I met in the woods or people we had to deal with about property issues better by, as Patrick McManus would say, getting out in the barnyard, so to speak, and hunkering together and take a stick and draw in the dirt and work out a plan or an idea that we both understood and could get through and work it out together a lot better than trying to just dress up and go out and impress somebody with my dazzling with my BS or my brilliance or whatever. But so I'm a hunker. I could get out in the woods with those guys. And, you know, Patrick McManus used to say, if you hunker down and get a stick and start drawing in dirt, he said, they can't resist but hunker down with you. And once you get down there on eye level, then you can, you can work with them. And they figured out if you're not afraid to hunker, well, by God, they can hunker, and maybe you can be friends. So I'm a hunkerer, and I could get out and draw in the dirt with the best of them better than I could probably just on the phone or trying to be somebody I wasn't. Occasionally that got me in trouble because some of the people I worked with didn't think I should do that. They thought you needed to be more formal about everything. And I suppose there was times when that was true. And there were times when I was. I mean, there were times when you just had to. But I also learned that country folk and a lot of the people we worked with and I worked with are country folk. And I wasn't so far removed from that I couldn't remember what that was like, or, that I might be an Oxford educated Cherokee, so to speak, but I didn't forget where I came from. And I grew up in the barnyard, and I grew up in the country, and I grew up around people like that. And I grew up around hunkerers. And I'll get that book, and I'll read that story next week. I'm planning on doing that next week. So be here next week to learn about hunkerers and to learn about a very funny man named Patrick F. McManus. And some of the names of his books, one I can think of right offhand, I can't see them from here, was They Shoot Canoes, don't they? I believe they shoot canoes, don't they? But it was kind of the theory of a horse. They used to have to shoot a horse if he broke his leg. So if you had a canoe that was going bad, you might as well shoot it. I mean, but he did it in the most humorous ways. He was a great guy. And yes, Don, people are interesting. And some people are interesting in the best of ways, and there's some that might be interesting in not such good ways, but they are interesting. That is one thing I've learned. They're all different. We've all got our quirks. We all do things our own way, and we're all interesting in our own way. I've run into very few people that I wouldn't call interesting. They might be dull, but even that can be interesting if they're dull enough. But anyway, it is afternoon. Football games are on. I may have already missed kickoff today. I don't know. You do that, Carol. I promise you. I absolutely promise you. If you find his books and you read one, you will laugh from front to back. I believe you will. I guess I shouldn't swear that. Different people have different tastes in reading, but he is one of the funniest guys that I have ever read. And probably because about half the stuff he's done, I've done something similar in my life. He has the title of one story in one of his books called Poof, No Eyebrows. Pretty much been there, done that. He talks about his old dog he found down by the railroad tracks, and I've had that dog. And Kay, we were kind of like that too. For the most part, there were some. I worked with a lot big companies. I mean, we were a large family, if you were, but they were, by and large, that's kind of how we were. In my company, our agency was divided up into invisible lines of, they work in electricity and they generate power, and, we were out managing the resources. But so that was kind of different, but, we didn't let them pick on our guys and vice versa. But anyway, if you find that book, Kay, I promise you, you will love it. I believe you will. I think, or not Kay, Carol. I don't know you that well, but I think I know you well enough to know that you're going to find that to be funny. They're just down to earth kind of. He just has a great sense of humor, and he's got, I think if he was a stand-up comedian, people would say he has great timing, and that's how his books are. And he's got a group of characters that kind of he grows up with. So a lot of it is about his life growing up and things he got into when he was younger. And like I said, I can associate with a lot of those things. He has a whole chapters about fast, mean cows, FMCs. I have run from a few of those in my life. So I know you exactly what he meant by that. And he liked to fish a lot. He did a little bit of hunting, but he liked to go camping. He was a huge fan and a great orator on the benefits of surplus, buying military surplus camping gear. And he said, if it had a bullet hole in it, it was even better. They didn't want any of that new stuff. They wanted stuff that, been seen. And later on in life, I think he just suspected that the guy that was selling it to him was probably putting the bullet holes in it himself, but they couldn't prove that. Okay. It has been a lovely morning. I appreciate everybody being here. We have been here 2 hours and 28 minutes. Time I can say goodbye, it'll be 2.5 hours. And so I love you all for being here. Thank you very much. Keep the K in your thoughts. Kay, hang in there. It may not ever be better, but it will be better than today. And you've got a lot of friends out there that you can talk to, and we're all here if we can help you. And you know where I'm at. You can get a hold of me, and I may not be able to do much, but I'll do what I can. And you know what? Yesterday, I had the opportunity to meet the first family, first couple, first person from YouTube that I've met so far in person, and that was Cherie and her husband, James. And James isn't on, but, everybody pretty much in here should know, I believe, knows Cherie. And what a wonderful lady and all she's been through. And James is an interesting guy. And I believe they said today might be their anniversary. Today was something special. I believe today was their anniversary, 28 years, I believe she said. So congratulations to them today. And it just made me think more and more about someday, hopefully, more of us can get together. We've talked about doing several people have talked about trying to find a sort of a centrally located spot to a lot of people. People have talked about Dollywood and the mountains here somewhere. I think that would be great if we could all do that someday. So I would like to see us all do that. Hopefully someday we'll be able to get together and have a chosen family reunion. I think that'll be a great day. So everybody have a great day. If your favorite college football team is playing today, good luck unless they're playing my team, in which case, sorry. Everybody else have a great day. If you're getting out on the road, be safe. If you're getting out on the internet, be safe. I'll probably see some of you around there later. At least I plan on it. I'm sure there's a bunch of people on this morning. If they're not, they will be. And I guess that's it. So, as I usually say, if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, next week I'll be right here to see you all again. So have a great weekend. Have a great week. Good luck to everybody. Best of wishes. And thank you all for being here. I truly appreciate it, and it means so much to me. You're all special. And see you later.